guys, this is I aka Manunia, describing you about the new patch for fire mages and going over their rotations and how to use them productively in PvP. And I do know that me and Yo Boy had different videos today, but that's only because of certain issues, but we actually wanted to do that anyway because we got left behind on one video because of our technical issues, as always. But so I will be going over fire, and he went over druid restoration. You can check that out on our channel. And alright, from here I can take you to a dummy and start telling you the rotation from here. Alright guys, so I'm at a target dummy in Stormwind, and I'm gonna go over the fire mage rotation. Basically, it's probably gonna be not the simplest rotation. I think arcane is still much more simpler than fire, but as of now, fire is not much complicated for well, I'm gonna call it PvE, and PvP is much more complicated because you have to make sure that everything is procced at the same time or the right time, and you know, you just gotta monitor what you're doing. You can't just be spamming arcane blast all the time or arcane missiles like you could do in arcane as arcane spec. But so the first and most important thing, obviously, I want to go through is that my gear is not that gear. I'm not that geared, guys. My gear score is like 326. I can't even do a heroic. So what the DPS will show on here won't be what you might show because of your gear, but I'm still going to show you the rotation, or at least my point of view from the rotation, how I've gotten, even on low gear as this, I've gotten 14k DPS, and I know that, you know, and that's pretty decent for at least no gear. I know good gears are doing a little bit higher than that, but obviously that's because they're good gear. So the first more important thing is we obviously have to have arcane brilliance. Obviously that's one important thing. And all the mage armors that we have, three choices of frost armor, mage armor, and molten armor. With fire spec I always go molten armor, mostly because of the 3% critical chance, which is obviously the most important thing in the fire spec, is to make sure you put critical chance everywhere you can. If you can see here, I reforged most of my clothing, even though it's low ranked, into critical strike. So my critical strike is at 9.79%, and I know that's low, but that's again because of my gear, and hopefully I can get better gear for fire. Alright, so that's why I keep molten armor on. And to keep a good amount of damage on the, well, dummy for our example, it's not much simple. The first thing I would catch is Scorch, only because of his main debuff that it puts on, the critical mass. Spells have a 5% additional chance to critical strike. Obviously, once again, increasing the critical chance strike, which is, you know, a must for fire. And I get that through, obviously, through this talent in the fire spec. And it's probably one of the most important things you need, because this talent does not only give you the critical chance, it also gives you 15% more damage on living bomb, which turns out to be my most damage doing thing in PvP. So from here on, when we put on Scorch, right after that I put on living bomb, and then the debuffs have started. All you have to do from there is put overtime damage, which I can do from either flame strike and then just start casting fireball. But see, with that thing is, I'm not gonna get much DPS because I have to keep all this up. You can see that the Scorch critical mass debuff stays on there for a while, so we don't have to worry about the ones afterwards. So I can do this, and then after living bomb, and then cast my flame strike, which is not really unnecessary, but I think it helps in with the damage. And after that, you just keep casting fireball, and hopefully will proc your pyroblast, which it won't mind because I don't have much of gear and proc for it. But then you can see your debuffs running out. Oh, there goes pyroblast. So I cast pyroblast. Obviously much faster in your case if you're fighting a boss. Okay, so you can see how my living bomb is off, my flame strike is off. Yes, that's only because I'm showing you how to do it. So with all this on to the next things we put on. As long as all these debuffs are on, you're good from that part of the part. There's nothing else you have to do. After that, you need to keep your DPS by keep putting on Flame Orb, especially if you're on a boss. Keep Flame Orb up. That's a must, because Flame Orb I've seen is doing a lot of damage these days, especially in PvP. That was my third most damage, next to Ignite, which was second, which is obviously a talent. I'll explain that in a little bit. So Flame Orb is very important. People, have a habit of not using it because of, I don't know, certain things. Maybe they're lazy or they forget about it. Okay, on to moving on Combustion. They changed Combustion obviously a lot in Cataclysm, but basically what you need to not use it only when your Pyroblast procs, because the overtime damage of Pyroblast is usually a lot, and if it crits, it ignites a lot, and you have the overtime damage plus ignite plus living bomb plus fireball damage plus your flame strike damage. You do Combustion on that and your target is going to be instantly dead, as long as it's a PvP armor. If it's a boss, your DPS is going to go up way high, like serious high. Well, in my case, I have a Trinket, which I got from a quest in Netherlands, I think, or Highland, sorry, my bad. God, it's been a while I've been quested. Okay, so it's not a really good Trinket, but I do use it when I am trying to put my DPS up, and obviously casting mirrors, and obviously casting Time Warp. All of that combined usually gives me, on this low gear, about 14k DPS, which is pretty nice. So let me see how much I can get. It all depends on procs, and I'm not probably going to get 14k DPS, but it doesn't hurt to try. Alright, so I'm going to start with Scorch. I'm going to put Living Bomb on. I'm going to put Flame Strike on. I'm going to put Orb on. You can see how my things are proccing. I'm going to cast my Mirrors. I'm going to cast my Time Warp. I'm going to start casting Fireball on him, and you can see my debuffs running out. Well, that's not a matter because I can put it up again. And I can put all of them in. And you can see that I'm not casting Combustion just yet. But in my case, you might have to because of this such low crit chance. So as soon as I get Ignite, I can put my Combustion, as you can see there. And obviously, in talking about it, I've also messed up my DPS because I'm not concentrating on what I'm doing much more than I'm talking. So right now my DPS is really low, which is at 8,000. But that's only because I'm talking. And usually if you focus, you can get really high. So I hope that helped you with that. We're going to move on to the talent tree and the patch updates. Alright guys, so if we move on to the patch updates, there's not much that changed for Fire Mages, instead of the fact that they reduced the mana cost on Living Bomb, and they increased the damage of your Mastery, which people are not really stacking up on their gear. They're still stacking up crit chance, but they did increase the, the Flash Burn, the overtime damage Mastery, by quite a bit. So it's much more useful, but it still doesn't mean you have to stack it up. You should, I think if you're going fire, you should still stack up crit chance, mainly because of the hot streak talent. So you can cast Pyroblast instantly, which is a must in PvP or PvE anyways. Okay, my talents, as I might have described before, are quite messed up for and I'm too lazy to change them for now. But it's not big of a deal because they're working out. I'm even with low gear, I'm doing really high damage in PvP, and I'm happy with it so far. So I'm gonna explain my form of talents. Not that I'm saying that people should pick this. I'm sure people have their own opinions on their own stuff. The patch also, one last thing, obviously a change, was the Firestarter talent. It used to make you put Molten Armor on to let you cast Scorch. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You're free to do that as long as you're fire, because it's only one talent point. You're not gonna miss it here. And now you're free to put on whatever type of armor you want. But I still recommend you put on Molten Armor. Okay, so I went with the obvious ones. On the first row, I got the Fire Blast improved because it's one of the most things, especially when you get impact. On the rest of the side, on this row, I put only one in Burning Soul because I only had to put it. If I didn't have to put it, I wouldn't put it. If I could put 3 in Mastery of Talents and get my mana back every time I crit, I'd rather get that. That's another important thing you get from crit chance, so that's another good thing about crit. Next we move on to Ignite. Now, like I explained before, that was second most DPS in PvP for me. So that's awesome, you know. You should always have ignite. You should always have firepower, obviously, because it increases spell power by 3%. Not that it doesn't seem like much, it is a lot. Guys, little percentage is what counts in fire, because it's all about overtime damage. And also it gives you, for, you know, additional fun, you know, it blows up your flame orb every at the end of the thing. Okay, I've seen a lot of PvP mages, or fire mages, not taking blazing speed. I don't know why you wouldn't take it, because with this and another talent, which I don't exactly know where it is, you pretty much every time you're, especially if you're carrying the flag in PvP and you get hit, it removes all your slowing down effects and increases your speed by 50%. So I think this is a must. People are ignoring it, but I don't think you should ignore it. Next is impact, obviously one of the most important ones too, because it gives you another stun. So on this row I took everything full. Next row, I've also seen people not take this power, the cauterize. It's helped me a lot in certain equations. Because even if you're fighting in PvP, it gives you a chance to do evocation and heal yourself if you're in a little tight spot. Or it gives you your healers another chance to make you survive. I think it's a must. Next, obviously Blast Wave, we take that. Hot Streak, we take that. And Improved Scorch. This is also, I mean, it's kind of up to you. If you somehow manage with your gear to have no problems with mana, well then Scorches, you don't have to take this. This is a waste of 2. But, you know, I have a low gear, so I need this. On the next low, Molten Shield. People don't take this. But, see, oh, here it is. The Blazing Speed removes your slowing down effects. So, well, there you go. And also, anytime you trigger Mage Ward, it dispels absorbing damage. Okay. Next is Combustion. Obviously important. Improved Hot Streak. This is where the crit chance comes in again, because every time you crit twice in a row, you get an instant Power Blast. Here is the Change Firecaster starter talent. It used to be that it reduces, takes off the effects of Molten Armor, but it gives you the Moving Scorch. No longer does it do that. Improved Flame Strike. That's also really important, mostly for PvP, because when you're putting it Blast Wave in the middle of people, it also casts Flame Strike there. That's a need. Dragon Breath, obviously a need. Molten Fury, I would love to put more points in, but unfortunately I ran out of points, so I was hoping to get back there, but I didn't. Next is Critical Mass. That's obviously another important thing, gives you crit chance. And then Living Bomb, another thing, you know, you always have to get. Pyrodynamics, it's not a waste of talent, it's a good talent. If you could somehow switch it with something, it'd be great, but this is mostly for PvE, not PvP. So I did not take this. The rest of my points went to Arcane. I take the what's it called? I'm sorry. The clear casting, because I still have mana issues. Once again, if you have good gear and you don't have mana issues, you do not need to take this. You can take haste, but this little haste doesn't make a difference at this level, or this doesn't make a difference that much. Improved counterspell, obviously, and then last but not least, obviously, is Blink, which I use non-stop. I'm addicted to Blink runaways. They're probably the most useful things I've ever used in PvP. Okay, next to my glyphs, I have Fireball at crit chance. I have Living Ball Living Bomb, sorry, increases spell damage, and Pyroblast crit chance increase, because who doesn't want a big crit? On my obviously evocation as my major glyph, Blink Away, obviously like I said, I love to blink away, and my Dragon Breath, which reduces the cooldown of it by 3 seconds. Okay guys, that was basic my Fire Mage tactics, and I hope you guys get something from this, and I'm gonna leave you guys with some PvP footage of a Fire Mage.
Has been taken from deep inside of me, a secret I've kept locked away, no one can ever see. Been so deep they never show, they never go away, like moving pictures in my head for years and years they've played. If I could change I would, take the pain I would retreat.